What if I told you that one of the greatest empires in human history, an empire that shaped our laws, our language, our architecture, and even the calendar you use today, started as a tiny group of villages on 7 muddy hills next to a river? This is the story of how Rome went from nothing to everything. Before we talk about history, we need to talk about the legend, because Romans themselves believed it with all their hearts. According to Roman mythology, the city was founded in 753 BC by twin brothers, Romulus and Remus. Their mother was a Vestal virgin. Their father was the god of war himself, Mars. As infants, they were ordered to be drowned in the Tiber River by their great uncle, who had stolen the throne. But instead of dying, they were carried downstream and left on the banks of a hill. A she-wolf found them, and instead of eating them, she nursed them. Eventually, a shepherd named Faustulus discovered the twins and raised them as his own. Tay grew up, overthrew the tyrant king, and decided to found a brand new city. But the brothers argued over which hill to build it on. The dispute turned violent. Romulus killed Remus, and he named the city after himself, Roma. Now, is any of this true? Almost certainly not. But the Romans believed it, and that story of strength, divine origin, and ruthless ambition, it basically became Rome's founding personality. The archaeological truth is a little less dramatic, but no less fascinating. Around 1800 BC, small Latin-speaking communities began settling on the hills along the Tiber River in central Italy. The location was strategic, far enough from the coast to avoid pirates, but close enough to a natural crossing point on the river to control trade. These early Romans were farmers and herders. Their technology was simple. Their world was small, but they had one enormous advantage. The 7 hills of Rome provided natural defense. The nearby marshes made invasion difficult, and the Tiber River connected them to the wider Mediterranean world. Over time, these scattered villages began to merge. By around 625 BC, what we might recognize as the first real city of Rome was taking shape with a central marketplace called the Forum. Temples, roads, and a growing population. But Rome didn't rule itself yet. It was ruled by kings. Rome's early political system was a monarchy. According to tradition, there were 7 kings of Rome, starting with Romulus himself. Some were Latin, some were from the neighboring Etruscan civilization to the north, a more advanced culture that had a massive influence on early Roman religion, architecture, and even the alphabet. The last king was Tarquinius Superbus, Tarquin the Proud, and his name says it all. He was a tyrant. He ignored the Senate, ruled by fear, and according to Roman historians, his son committed a terrible crime against a noble woman named Lucretia. She reported the crime, then took her own life. Her death became the spark that ignited a revolution. In 509 BC, the Roman aristocracy rose up, expelled the king, and declared, "No more monarchs, ever." Instead, they created something radical, a republic. The Roman Republic was a revolutionary idea. Power would no longer belong to one man. Instead, it would be shared, checked, and balanced. At the top were 2 consuls elected each year, with equal power, each able to veto the other. Below them was the Senate, hundreds of experienced aristocrats who advised, debated, and directed Rome's policies. It wasn't a democracy. Ordinary citizens had limited power, but it was far more sophisticated than anything the ancient world had seen before, and it worked. Over the next few centuries, Rome expanded aggressively. First, it conquered the rest of Italy. Then it clashed with Carthage, its great rival in North Africa, in the legendary Punic Wars. Then Greece, Spain, the Near East. By the 1st century BC, Rome controlled an empire in everything but name. It was the dominant power in the Mediterranean world. But here's the cruel irony. Success nearly destroyed the Republic. The wealth pouring in from conquered territories created massive inequality. Generals grew more powerful than politicians. Slaves flooded in and replaced free workers. The system designed for a city-state was now trying to govern millions of people across 3 continents. Rome was tearing itself apart. Enter the 3 most dangerous men in Rome: Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus. 3 ambitious powerhouses who formed a secret political alliance known as the First Triumvirate in 60 BC. Together, they dominated Roman politics, but alliances built on ego rarely last. Crassus died in battle. Pompey and Caesar turned on each other. Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his army in 49 BC, an act of war against the Senate, and plunged Rome into civil war. Caesar won. He became dictator. He reformed the calendar, reorganized the government, and made himself the most powerful man in the world. Then, on March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March, he was stabbed 23 times on the floor of the Senate by men who claimed to be saving the Republic. They were wrong. The Republic was already dead. What followed was another round of civil wars. Caesar's adopted son, Octavian versus Caesar's old ally, Mark Antony, and the Egyptian queen Cleopatra. After the Battle of Actium, in 31 BC, Octavian stood alone, the undisputed master of Rome. In 27 BC, the Senate gave Octavian a new title, Augustus, meaning the revered one. He didn't call himself king. He didn't call himself dictator. He was simply the first citizen, the princeps. But in reality, he held all power: command of the armies, control of the treasury, authority over the provinces. The Roman Empire had begun, and it would last in one form or another for another 500 years in the West, and nearly 1,500 years in the East, as the Byzantine Empire. From 7 muddy hills to the ruler of the known world. Not bad for a city supposedly founded by a guy who was raised by a wolf. If you made it this far, drop a comment. Which part of Roman history do you want to see next? Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.